Hi, everyone. We're just getting started. I'm gonna give everybody a couple of minutes just to join and get settled. But excited to dive into this next ThankView how-to. Awesome. Great, that's live. Just minimize that so it doesn't get in the way. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for another fun edition of ThankView How-Tos. This time, we're going to be talking about end of fiscal year planning and how video can really help you go into the end of fiscal year strong and considering all of your options of audiences and causes that you can promote to really make sure that you end with the best numbers possible. For those of you who don't know, I am Lindsay Roth. I'm the community manager over at ThankView, but I also am the assistant vice chancellor for annual giving at UMass Dartmouth. I've been in higher ed for about 12 years now, really focused in on annual giving programs, and really love working with ThankView because it is a really nice companion to your traditional direct mail and digital outreach. For those of you who don't know, we do have a Facebook partner community group. Great ideas are shared in there constantly. People, post their campaigns that are working and thus serve as inspiration for others to steal and apply at their own organizations. But also, it's just a great place to sort of shout out questions into the void and see what comes back. We have regular discussion topics that are focused on a regular basis, and ultimately, I really think that it's a nice perk of being in the ThankView partner community so that you can take advantage of this this little group that we've created around video messaging for solicitation, events, etc. So if you're not a member yet, I really encourage you to just quickly open up Facebook, type in ThankView Partner Community in the search bar, and then ask to join the ThankView Partner Community group. Somebody will approve it very quickly. We have a lot of admins there so that we can stay on top of making sure that people immediately have access. And then I encourage you to let me know if there's any kind of examples that you'd like to not just feature there, but maybe on our blog. We are always looking for new case studies and success stories, examples, and we like to do client profiles as well. And so feel free to reach out and see what we can do, because again, I think a big perk of belonging to this client group is that a lot of idea sharing is something that's at the heart of what we're doing. So we're going to start with a quick overview and go into a checklist that's really strong for end of fiscal year. In addition, what audiences to focus on and causes to focus in on, and then we'll end, as we typically do, with some examples to serve as inspiration. We're going to be continuing to expand that for our next edition of this, because again, it's a busy time of year for people. So we're offering this twice this month, trying to offer some diversity in when we're hosting these webinars so that as many people can make it as possible. And then we'll go into Q&A. So if you have any questions, do feel free to answer or to type them right in. I'll get flagged when a question comes up, but also, you can feel free to save it to the end as well, because we'll set aside some time to make sure that all of your questions are answered. So why the end of fiscal year matters? I don't think I have to explain this too deeply to anybody who is in fundraising and is dealing with metrics that are expiring at a certain point in the year. But it's really the last chance to boost participation before the end of your annual campaign. I think that this is the donor driver point in the year where you're just trying to get as many people as possible to commit and give before the time runs out. This can also be a really nice way to motivate major donors or even annual fund leadership donors to convert due to the deadline. But I think ultimately, strategy is really key here, because you have to highlight some mass appeal funds in order to make sure that you're casting as wide a net as possible, but that can be really, really fun. In addition, there's an opportunity to solicit, some limited time audiences that may be expiring and thus not necessarily able to be solicited again. Think of like your parent populations, some of your event attendees, maybe that it won't feel appropriate once a certain amount of time has passed. Also your athletics and some of your spring sports that are happening now and might have some nice accolades to tout, but if you don't do it soon, then they're just not going to be newsworthy anymore. I thought it would be nice to start off with a checklist and just sort of seeing what you need to really get ready to approach the end of fiscal year strong and prepare your team. I really suggest that you run a list of how your appeals to date have performed and see if there's any kind of consistency in open rates or response rates, call to actions being taken based on the message that you're using, because that'll be a really key indicator to something that has worked well in the past and that you could maybe replicate going into the end of fiscal year. In addition, I encourage you to run a list of donors who have given in at least the last 2 fiscals. You can absolutely, expand that outreach, but they are essentially your lowest hanging fruit. I know that Libunts are a really popular community to constantly target on, but I'm also a fan of the first year lapse group, because they were your basically Libunts last year and you missed out on them. And so there's still an opportunity there. And when you're sort of looking to prioritize that group of lapse donors, that's a good place to go, because their giving is very recent still. If you have any societies, leadership or loyalty societies, definitely sort your donors by the membership threshold for leadership and see if there are any people on the cusp of that membership threshold. For us at UMass Dartmouth, our leadership annual giving program, which we call the Chancellor Circle, starts at membership of $1,000. The only exception to that is recent graduates who can join for $100 per year since graduation up to their first 10 years out. And we, so essentially what we're doing this year is going back to the people who are on the cusp, about 750 and up, to that 1,000 mark to see if they would be willing to give a second gift to equate to the difference, and then go and join before the fiscal year end is out. But then we're also going to be focusing on our recent graduate population, because that's a great networking opportunity. It's a donor community that has a lot of experience, not just in the workforce, but it has a lot of network contacts that they might be able to take advantage of, and events and socializing is a perk that we offer. And so definitely hone in on those special opportunities and push the case for giving through the membership benefits for the donor themselves, because it works, right? See if there's a common thread that the majority of your outstanding supporters have leaned into in the past, so that you can then use that to maximize your reach at this point of year. If there's a lot of people who are giving to student emergency assistance or scholarship support, then it could pretty much make the case of what your overarching narrative could be, rather than driving yourself crazy on making a ton of different micro campaigns, because at the end of the day, these people have received those communications already and haven't responded. And so it would be best to lean into either where they've given, if it's more general in the past, or just making the case for like a call to action that really inspires people to take immediate action. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then ultimately, identify any donors who have unsubscribed from email communication within the last fiscal year, because they are the people that you definitely want to prioritize for a video message. Chances are they haven't opted out from ThankView. At least I can speak for, my experience at Boston University and at UMass Dartmouth. There usually is not a lot of crossover there. Instead, they opt out of your email because that might be your main digital communication. And so, you obviously want to reserve ThankView at times for really special solicitations. And this is a time to definitely take advantage of that, because it will let you cut through the clutter. And then you can also cross promote on social media, by creating ad campaigns that make sure that the videos are going to follow them in their feeds as well, so that if they don't look at your ThankView for whatever reason, that you can be confident that they're still getting the video when they're active on their. Some audiences that you may want to focus on at this point of year, definitely senior parents. They're leaving, their students are graduating, but they're also about to get all of the feelings at that great commencement ceremony. So definitely ask them to give in honor of their student, and consider offering this group some sort of perk if they give above a certain threshold, like access to a special seating area at commencement. I've done this in the past and it works so well. It's a great stewardship opportunity, but also I think if you don't have ticketing or assigned seating like we do at UMass Dartmouth and previously at Boston University, it's kind of first come, first serve, and that can be a big stressor for some families coming in, trying to find a place where they can all sit together. And so a lot of them will leap at the opportunity to be able to do that just because they made a gift, and it's a nice way to be able to convert them and then see them in person. And, I've definitely offered them like a little decal for their car when they get there as like an added touch point and appreciation for their support. Spring athletics, definitely look at your teams and see who's performing well and promote their performance, because again, athletes are very tuned into their community and they love when their former team is doing well. But I also think that this is another way to engage the parent community too, and see if you have any parents of athletes who are still outstanding in their gift, and ask them to support the team. Faculty and staff at UMass Dartmouth, we raffle off an opportunity to pick your parking spot for a month. And we've also done some fun giveaways and swag as well. And so this is an opportunity just to get the people who are closest to your students and your mission, living it each and every day, to make a gift. And then your most recent past donors, again, your live bunts and first year side bunts should really just be a top priority, not just for video outreach and end of year campaigns, but for personal outreach too. I like to end the year making sure that every live bunt gets a personal touch in some way, shape, or form from a current annual giving staff member, and have found that really can go the extra mile in converting those people and reminding them to make their gift. I also think, as I said, that leadership donors are a great population to focus on, especially if there's a society attached to it. The same thing with loyalty. If people have a perfect giving streak and they're about to lose it, promote that to them, because that will matter a whole heck of a lot, especially if they've been out for a few years since graduation. And if you have a society that gives them perks, then they're going to lose those perks if they don't renew their membership. And so treating it, more as, time is running out, and, this is really yours to lose, and having the impact on them is a nice way to go, because I feel like people who respond to societies of this nature are all about community, but especially about the personal perks that then they have access to as a result of that community. Again, if they're on the cusp of membership or are about to be able to join a loyalty society, consider an upgrade campaign. And also, again, plugging those perks is really big. Look at your regions if you do clubs or alumni networks in certain parts of the country, and see if they sponsor a scholarship, or if their leadership would be sponsoring a scholarship. And then encouraging people in that region to give back. And I think that this is a nice way to do a more peer-to-peer approach with video, because you can actually, get video through the retrieval option on ThankView, and encourage people in that area who may be familiar with their club leadership to then join them with a gift. And then finally, be sure to check out your volunteers, because sometimes they're the ones that, even though they're out asking, can forget to make their gift. And so you're going to want to nudge them and give them a little reminder, because they already are giving of their time and talent. And so they can absolutely make a gift before the end of the fiscal year. So when you think about causes to promote, obviously you know your university and organization best. So definitely defer to your own opinion. But just for general discussion, I think that scholarships are always great to focus on, because they are life-changing and transformative. And a lot of the reason why many of us in the field are doing the work that we're doing each day. For us at UMass Dartmouth, and this isn't unique to us because it's a bigger issue in the higher education field, food insecurity is always an issue on campuses across the nation. College students are among some of the most needy. And so at the end of the day, getting out ahead of this issue on behalf of your students is something that I think can really inspire a group. And then emergency support is right up there. We have a really great fund that we call Bridging the Gap Fund at UMass Dartmouth. Students can apply to receive emergency support based on, an unexpected need that has come up that could prevent them from completing their degree programs. For us, the average support that's needed from a student in that situation is about $2,500. And so from a donor perspective, what an amazing way to transform a life and continue to have access to an education for, frankly, a gift that is as low as $200 a month. It's really great. Again, athletics teams, if they're winning, tout it, especially if they have trips coming up during the summer or off seasons. And then really, if you have any mentorship or career preparedness, I think that this is an area that's continuing to become more in demand as things go on. And then general unrestricted support is always great. Apologies, Mary. I'll try to, keep my hands. I was using my mouse a little bit, so I might have been touching my microphone. Apologies for that. Thanks for letting me know. In addition, general unrestricted support is always needed, especially at this time of year, to kind of clean out the budget, pay bills, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's not always the most direct way to ask for money. But if you have an unrestricted annual giving program, people have to pay for the light bulbs, right? And there's creative ways that you can really promote causes like that as well. Let's see. So options of campaigns on ThankView that you can consider as you're going into the end of fiscal year. I really encourage you to try a video request campaign with your maybe board leadership, or if you have any social media ambassadors or volunteer groups that you're looking to kind of motivate and get involved so that they feel like they're really in it with you, because I like that this is a light lift on both sides. But also I really like that it's an easy way to get content, and that ThankView makes it easy for it to appear directly in your video library so that you can then instantly turn it into a campaign. I've also used these to cross promote on social media, and have found that it's nice because then instead of just focusing on who should be receiving the message, you can then see who opts into a video request campaign like this and then prioritize people in your donor community who have yet to make a gift that fit the affinities that the volunteer meets. And so focus less on making sure that everybody gets a video like that, and instead focus on matching them according to the affinities that the volunteer has, so that they feel like it's true peer-to-peer and that it's somebody who went through an experience similar to theirs. You could also do this with students, obviously, but I do think that it's nice wherever possible to do the join me method. And I like to engage this a lot simply because we don't have a strong peer-to-peer community at UMass Dartmouth, and so I don't have a lot of people to lean on to do things like this. However, it has that same effect when I use video because they're right there on the other side of the screen. Solicitation is another great way to use ThankView, and their campaigns, set up in that way, and you can track accordingly with a call to action. But if you need to call your audience to adhere to send limits, a really easy way to do this is to load everybody in and then purge associated with the low engagement score. And ThankView makes it really easy to opt people out in that way and just remove them from the campaign. I did this during our giving day when we were sending quite a few video messages to many different groups, and I didn't want to hit that max send based on my day because I still had to send out a ThankView when the campaign wrapped. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough sends left, and it was so easy. I loaded them in, figured that I was off by about maybe 5,000 that needed to be purged out. And instead of sending to everybody, I basically removed people with a 1 or a 2-star engagement score from ThankView, knowing that they were people that really hadn't responded yet to any of it, that kind of outreach, and focused in on people that I knew would be open to the video as a channel. And then absolutely, if you're doing solicitations, be sure to ask your donors to reply with a video message, maybe of why they gave. And you could make it fun. You could feature them on your social channels and tag them. I think that millennials really are open to campaigns like this because they're a bit narcissistic in the way that we like to see ourselves in our sort of the selfie generation. But also, I think that you'll just get a lot of unique content back, and that's not a bad thing, especially as you start to prepare for the year to come, because that'll be here before we know it. And then finally, events. If you're having any kind of event in the end of fiscal year, think about how ThankView can both boost the RSVPs to that event by sending a little bit of a less traditional invitation, but then also how ThankView can be impactful in the follow-up and making sure that you're doing a clean follow-up to people who attended and asking for support. If you're doing a mixer, email them from a current student and say, I hope you enjoyed your recent, cocktail hour with other alumni in Area X. As a current student studying Y, I would really hope that you would support UMass D with a gift to Z. And it can be very general in nature, but again, I think that instant feedback and tie-in, it works, and I've been working more and more at UMass Dartmouth to set this up with our alumni relations team, and we're hoping to do this for our alumni awards this year, where we're both doing a video to encourage people to come, but then also doing a video after the fact where we thank people for coming to the event and encourage them to support UMass D with a gift. So now the fun part, video examples of different campaigns that you can consider. at Randolph-Macon College. They have a couple of examples that I really liked. One was, I think, a more in-house produced video, and the other one, well, they're both in-house, I think, but one featured more direct students versus not. And I don't think that there's one right way or another, but just different ways that you can be focused on overall impact and a little more widespread in your message. Now that was really straightforward, to the point, and clear, right? The call to action was right there. And I think that, you know, when you're making a video in-house, it can feel very overwhelming. Trust me, we have to do a lot of that at UMass Dartmouth, and I can relate. I personally use Animoto, and I'm happy to talk to anybody after the fact about my experience with that platform. But I just want to point out that what I loved about this example specifically is that they didn't do things that they weren't capable of doing. You did not see like really big transitions, no like attempts at highly produced drone shots. They stuck to what they had. Then they chose a music track that had a really strong, consistent beat, and they did transitions that lined up with that. And I would venture to guess that each of those clips that you were seeing, whether it was a still image or a video clip, it was probably 1 second in length. And when you do those quick clip changes right to the beat of the music, you're going to get a really clean final product. And so just a little, you know, video tip for anybody who's still figuring out the best way to work around some skills that are still needed on your team. I recommend that as a really good reference of what in-house production can look like and have a really great effect. Now this one's a little different. Like I said, it has much more student presence, and I think it's great because there's a lot of, you know, variety in the type of student that they're featuring. And so it's very easy for people to see themselves, so to speak, in the students that are being represented.
Randolph-Macon has been more than I could have ever asked for. It's really just become such an important 4 years of my life, and something that I'll always look back and remember.
All the professors here know your name, they know your struggles, and they can help you through them on an individual basis.
I actually go and see my professors at least 3 times a week. It's crazy. Just to sit down and talk to them. You're more than just a number in their classes. They actually care about you, and they're willing to help you out no matter what the situation is.
It's everything from our college campus, the size and what it looks like. You walk to class and you can say hi to 15 people in the short 3-minute walk, which is awesome.
The people here are always willing to help you out whenever you need it. They have so many opportunities like this surf program just to go out and do what you want to do.
When I was on my tour, everyone would pass each other and say hi. And I'm like, wow, everyone knows each other at this school. And I really wanted to go to a small, intimate school where you knew your professors and you weren't afraid to just walk into their office.
I've been very fortunate to take advantage of every single study abroad opportunity I could get my hands onto. As of now, I've been able to visit 4 different countries through either a J-term or a summer course.
I have had
such amazing experiences here with the scholarship program, with other activities, clubs, classes. Everyone is so supportive and positive here.
Professors at Randolph Macon are really great. They've had so much experience, whether it be in research, the real world.
It's so easy for new students to come here and feel like this is my new home. And so for all students who are looking at colleges, I would definitely say if you give Randolph Macon a chance, it can be your home.
So this video had a bit more of like an enrollment vibe to it. However, it's so easy to, I think, make this tailored to giving just by sharing content with your marketing department that may be able to be repurposed. I would argue that they probably took a lot of those drone shots from a previously produced or footage that had been kind of archived and then worked internally to get those student testimonials. Again, they featured a lot of faces and different experiences and were really varying in the approach. And at this time of year, when you're trying to just see what works for a lot of people, I recommend mixing in a lot of different representatives of different communities so that you can really make sure that people are seeing themselves in the approach that you're taking. This is not a higher ed, but I really liked how short, sweet, and to the point it was, and how they really positioned the donor as a partner.
Imagine life without WOSU. What would you miss?
I would miss being transported to all parts of the globe.
I would miss nature.
Downton Abbey.
So you'll never have to miss anything. Partner with us to raise $50,000 by June 30th.
Classical programs, all the great news programming.
It's easy to support. Visit us online or call.
All of the programming centered specifically around the growth and
Moment to moment support. WOSU Connect.
So again, this was public media that was doing this, but it can very easily be applied to, I think, a higher ed or organizational nonprofit approach, and just saying, like, if you had to take some of the experience away, what would that mean? And I think that, if you look at something like scholarship or emergency student assistance, the impact would be felt immediately. It would be students not able to receive their degree, the community would suffer from not having them there, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not that you want to dwell on the negative, but you want to state very clearly that as a donor, you're not just giving to a void, you're actually investing and partnering and having a hand in making sure that the community continues to grow, is vibrant, and is providing a really unique experience for students or program participants. This one is just from The Ohio State University. I thought it was a good example of how to promote an event. They had a text to give code, but I don't think you always need that. You can absolutely promote giving at sporting events, especially if you have a constituency and following, like a place like The Ohio State University. It's a captive audience and it works.
Now, while this is great, this leaves the other half of our students without any support. And in the OSU Marching Band, we never settle for anything less than 100%. If you're able to join us in increasing our base of band scholarship support, please get out your phones and text OSU Band, one word, to 41444 to make a gift of any size to the Ohio State University Marching Band Scholarship Fund. We greatly appreciate any and all assistance you can offer in helping us reach 100%. And another thank you to Nationwide for support.
So again, they're obviously focused in on support for the marching band. It's very unique, but something that is really key to obviously a lot of liveliness and excitement during athletics events. And so imagine partnering with your athletics department, and especially around ticketing, and then getting information for the people who not only are season ticket holders, if you have that option, but or in attendance at the sporting event, and when in combination of doing an event like an ask like this at the event, then following it up with maybe, you know, some never before seen footage of the marching band practicing, or maybe an exclusive song that they're performing and sending that out, or maybe featuring, you know, the drum line or a special section of performers and diving into who they are as students a little bit more. There's a way that you can take this beyond the event itself, but I think starting at the event and making sure that there's some that you're taking advantage of a captive audience is always a smart move. This was a cute example from Boston University. This is animated, and I think that as we get more and more millennials into, you know, the leadership gift pipeline and stepping outside of the C-suite and into the C-suite, it's important to make sure that you're using animation and engaging them, because I think that this evokes a lot of nostalgia. They do watch animation quite a lot, and that's probably because the majority of that generation grew up with Sunday morning or Saturday morning cartoons as part of their routine. And I just think that this is a really cute example of how you can stress the impact of giving. So their mascot is the terrier, which is why you saw that being the star of the show. But I really liked how, you know, basically he's planting his gift, and it's a seed that grows into actual tangible items, something that can be hard to stress, especially at the annual giving level at a private research institution that has a lot of support and a lot of things going on throughout the year. And then this is another example of how they use scholarship students to stress support and continued support for scholarship.
So when I was looking to apply to university, I was looking for something that had a good reputation academically, and BU was actually the first school that really stood out to me. I chose to study journalism mostly because I really love people and I love fast-paced things, and I've always loved writing and photography as well. I would definitely classify myself as a storyteller. My scholarship was super fundamental in my choice to come to BU, and it was due to other people's gifts that I'm able to be here and get to do something that I've been passionate about for many years. They made even part of my dreams and my aspirations really come true through their gifts.
So I'm from Marlborough, Massachusetts, about an hour away from Boston. When I was younger, I would drive into Boston, and kind of coming up from the Mass Pike, we'd always see like Boston University on the side. So I'm Brazilian, and I've really been able to not only learn more about my culture and about who I am here at Boston University, but have also been able to learn about different cultures and different people and their backgrounds and where they come from. The scholarships that I've received have really motivated me to pursue my dreams with more intensity. As a first generation student, my time here has not only been monumental for me, but something I can use to inspire other students that fall within the same line. I can show them that it is possible for you to come to a school like Boston University and be successful.
I totally started out as an actor, and I really thought that's what I really, really wanted to do. But what I love about what I get to do now is that I'm always in process. The design and production degree is basically anything that happens in theater that isn't acting. Things like designing, lighting design, scenic design. So it's all aspects, both creative and functional, of that backstage work. Honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my scholarship. And I applied to BU never thinking I would be able to come. So my scholarship is like a gift that I'm grateful for all the time, because the gift of giving a person the ability to tell their story is one that is unmatchable. I know that doing theater was the first time I ever felt like my voice mattered. There's nothing else in the world that does that the way that art does. And I think that is like an invaluable thing.
So again, like stressing impact, really using the student's experience to tell the story, and stressing, gratitude is a huge, huge factor when considering how to, stress the support. So before we get to our Q&A part, I just want to review that we still have our referral program in full swing. As you can see here, Chris is telling Anna all about ThankView, and she's going to thankview.com/demo and entering in Chris's name as the person who referred her to ThankView. And upon signing a contract within 3 months of her demo, Chris then receives a $200 Amazon gift card. The long story short here is you can be Chris. Go to thankview.com/demo or encourage any of your partners on campus or in the field to do so. And if they sign up to our contract, then you'll receive a $200 Amazon gift card as our thanks to you. One more plug for the ThankView partner community. Don't forget to join on Facebook if you haven't yet. It's just a really good additional perk of being a client of ThankView. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. And while we're waiting for any questions to come in, end of fiscal year planning, we'll be doing a reboot of this on the 23rd. So if you had anyone on your team that wasn't able to join, we'd be happy to share that. We'll also be sending out the recording and the slides right after this, so you'll have that in your inbox to share as well. And if you have any questions beyond this edition of our ThankView how-tos, you can feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm at lindsay.roth@thankview.com. Feel free to let me know how I can be helpful as you go into your end of fiscal year and start planning for FY20. Seems hard to believe that we're already at this point in the year, but it always creeps up at the same time, like clockwork, right? But I'm here to help, so feel free to let me know. Happy to help however I can. I'm gonna look at the chat. You mentioned sending a video to unsubscribes. Do you have a separate video category? So we do not consider ThankViews and video messages to be emails at UMass Dartmouth. It's a totally different platform, and if your people unsubscribe from ThankView, ThankView is not going to let you send to them. And so, really what we do is, if you unsubscribe from email, you're out of the email campaign that you unsubscribe from, or if you completely want out of email, then you're out of email. But we still send a ThankView, and we don't get the unsubscribe rates that we get with email. I think that maybe we've had under 10 since I've started using ThankView 2 years ago at UMass Dartmouth. It's been a really low amount of unsubscribes, which is why it's a nice way to continue to reach those people digitally at specific times in the year. And so I will message them with special videos around our giving day, around the end of the calendar year, and around the end of fiscal year, because those are obviously our big crunch times for donors. And it's been really, really helpful. Any others? Awesome. You're welcome, Brenda. Okay, well, if there's any other questions, do you think the videos need to be so produced, high quality, or can something be more grassroots and homemade? I actually prefer the grassroots and homemade ones. But if you're looking for something that's kind of in the middle, I really encourage you to check out Animoto. They have a great nonprofit rate. I believe that my annual subscription at the moment is about $500 a year. And so it's not a big commitment of budget. And I'm able to really easily create some nice final products. And I don't have an extensive knowledge of video production. I was a communications major, but I've been out of college for a solid 15 years now. And so the technology has changed wildly in that time frame. And so I wouldn't consider myself an expert by any means. I'm not afraid to dive in and sort of roll my sleeves up and get in the weeds a bit. But I think that, shooting on your smartphones and using a simple click and drag editing software can give you a really, really sharp final product. It's a great question. And also when you're packaging it in something like ThankView, I think that it just elevates the experience for the user as well. And if anything, people that are consuming video on a regular basis, which I'd argue everyone is at this point because it's unavoidable, they're looking for that genuine squishiness, I guess you could say. Like, they're looking to see real people and to connect. And I don't know that the highly produced videos are capable of doing that because people are so easily detecting the angle and the ulterior motive, so to speak, with some of that stuff, right? Cool. Do I have any other questions before I go? Awesome. Well, you guys have been great. And, as I said, feel free to keep in touch. My email address is right there, and we'll be sending you the recording and the slides shortly. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition, and I hope to see you at the next one. Have a good one, everyone.